Lazy Dude 99. Lazy time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review. Let's talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go on to Hello everybody, I'm Lazy Dude 99. Welcome to another Lazy Dude 99 review. Today I am looking at The Giver. A movie based on the novel written by Louis Laurie about a guy in this future that has a whole bunch of weird stuff going on and a corrupt government and a whole la-di-da-di-da. This is basically just another movie based on these teen novels that is being made into a blockbuster movie. So the thing that you might ask is, why on earth are you reviewing this movie? You review mostly action movies and, animated movies. It doesn't seem like your cup of tea. I needed to review this movie, mostly because, as you guys know, I'm not much of a book reader. I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but I don't usually read that many books. I mean, I'm sure it explains in the books better than it does in the movie, but I haven't read the books, obviously. But, in the book, you see it says blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I really don't care. Yeah, I think it's come across subtly, but this is a movie based on a book that I've actually read. This is actually a pretty old book. I read this when I was a kid. This was one of the first stories that I ever read that had a little bit more meat on the bones. It was a little bit more serious. There was a lot more symbolism going on. It was more of a story that had, it just had a whole lot more stuff going on than the regular good guy versus bad guy wins at the end. So the question remains, why did they release this movie now? I mean, the book was written in 1993. That wasn't really right around the corner. I mean, that's not last year. That's 21 years ago. So why now? I think a lot of it has to do with movies like Hunger Games and Divergent and Twilight. Teen novels are really big now, and in a way, I think that this movie knows that and is trying to cash in on that. But just because someone is trying to cash in on something doesn't make it bad. So what is The Giver about? The Giver is about this society of people that live in this world where everything's really regulated. There's no violence, there's no wars, and at least everything seems like the perfect community. So our main character is this guy named Jonas. And Jonas is just about to graduate from his, school and become an adult. And therefore, he has his future decided for him, and he has to be shown what job he's going to do. Because you don't get to choose, it's chosen for you based on what skills you have and what interests you have. So Jonas, who's played by an actor whose last name I can't pronounce, Brenton Thwaites? Thwiki? I don't know. And basically, he is chosen to be the receiver, the person who has all the memories of the horrible past that this world had that they've all forgotten. And I don't mean that each and every one of them experienced these memories and now he has to hang on to them. It's just the memories of all of the past, of the emotions of it. Because this world is very much the same kind of like Equilibrium, where they have emotions where they can feel things, but they don't act on emotion. They don't have curiosity or basically a lot of the stuff that makes us human. One of the things that they can't even do is they can't even see color. Everything's in black and white in this world. So Jonas is chosen to be the receiver, the person who inhabits all of these memories for himself. Jeff Bridges is the previous receiver who is now giving all of the memories from himself to Jonas, and he is, of course, called the Giver. And as Jonas learns more and more about the past and the feelings and the emotions that people used to have, he realizes more and more that there is something missing from the world that he is part of. So, the thing with The Giver, it's an interesting story. Because when I first read it, there's certain things that really come to my memory. Like, when you first find out that the world isn't black and white, they don't actually just tell you that. It's expressed through feelings when he first starts to see color, and he tries to describe them in the way it feels. And you realize slowly, okay, the world isn't black and white. And then as he grows more into color, he explains more on what he can see and the feelings that he feels. And it's all about all of the memories that the giver is transferring to him. And so the book is filled with a lot of symbolism. And right off the bat, there are some changes to this movie from the book. And I think some of the changes really speak to the target audience that it's trying to grab. Well, who is it trying to grab? The teen audience. And how do I know that? Well, let me put it this way. The main character in this movie is 18 years old. In the book, he was 12. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the stuff that this character has to go through in this movie is pretty intense, and it might be a little bit too intense for people to see a 12-year-old go through that, and it's a little bit easier to see an 18-year-old go through that. But I don't think that's the reasons. I think the reasons are they're trying to get that teen, romance novel style of audience. Now, is this a major problem of the movie? Not necessarily. The actor who plays Jonas, him, he does a pretty good job. I mean, he's a little bland, a little bit. I mean, it's just... And I think that's partly because of the way the story is set up. It's supposed to say all their emotions and feelings are muted, and they don't have any largely... they still feel things. Like, they can feel afraid, they can feel anxious, they can feel pride and whatnot, but it's not in the same way of equilibrium where they don't feel anything. So it at very least allows the actors to show some things, to allow ourselves to relate to them, unlike some other movies. This movie obviously has a lot of themes going on of if anything's different, then it's wrong, and therefore everything should be the same. Not to subtly hit it on, because they're all pushing forward to sameness. That's like, they say, we got to achieve sameness. It's not really subtle, but to be fair, it's not really supposed to be. Looking at this movie, I really see how it's a movie that's trying to grasp on the popularity of the teen novel. Now, just looking over the Wikipedia entry for this series of books, I realized that there are sequel books that have come out from 2000, 2004, and 2012. So there are more recent books in the franchise. But you know what? I definitely know that The Giver and The Giver series of books is not being talked of as much as something like Hunger Games, Divergent, or even Twilight. But anyway, that's enough about the book. I just want to say that, as I say, I think it's a movie that's based out of necessity of trying to catch onto the teen novel. Because the reason I say that is, this movie could have been, super serious and super, symbolic in trying to really send a message. And we don't really get that. We get, some symbolism, to be sure, and some, message that is shown. But it feels really half-arsed, that the focus... let me put it this way. I don't remember from the book. Could be in there, but I really don't remember there being a love interest. Yep. And yeah, there's a love interest in this movie, and I must say, this actress isn't that good. This girl named Fiona, she's just, oh boy, it's just, she's so bland, and she's supposed to be this guy this girl that the guy really, really likes, but I don't see it, because these people are not allowed to express large feelings of emotion, so it's hard for me to see what he actually sees in her as a person, because all of their emotions are muted. Now, why do they have to have a love interest there? To pull in the teen girl audience, of course. There's no other reason. I don't remember, but I'm very sure the main focus of the story of The Giver was with the boy and the giver. And yeah, that was what was really interesting about it. I think The Giver in the book, as I say, it's been so long. I was a kid when I read it. But this is why I think the movie would have been much better if they wouldn't like this. I think The Giver was much more bitter. He started out much more harsh and much more bitter, and here's just Jeff Bridges, and don't get me wrong, Jeff Bridges is the best part of the film. he plays the giver really well as this, wise mentor that's trying to keep, trying to show this young person the ways of this task. But I think that you could have had a lot more scenes. If, let's say you just cut that whole romantic part out of there, I think you could have had a lot more scenes with the giver and him and trying to develop their relationship, their friendship, and, do more with that, like, have more like the giver being a really, really bitter old man and seeing these emotions of happiness and of joy through this boy's eyes for the first time, him experiencing music for the first time or going down a hill on a sled, stuff like that could really, really be a great emotional way to get invested into these characters. As it stands, I still like both of them. I like Jeff Bridges a lot, and as I say, he's the best part of the movie because, he has such class and talent that he brings to the role that it adds some layer of seriousness that I don't think another actor would have been able to pull off. But, it is diminished a little bit because you have this whole romantic subplot for no reason. Like, I think there was a girl character in the book, but I don't think there was as much time dedicated to her. At the very least, I'm looking over the Wikipedia summary of the book, and there's no girl mentioned. So if there was one, she wasn't really that big of a deal in the book. And in the movie, she's, pretty big deal. Besides Jeff Bridges, the only other people that you might recognize in this film are, of course, the amazing acting talent of Meryl Streep and Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes' character was kind of annoying, but I think, she was supposed to be that way. She had this line where, like, as the boy's learning more and more about how the world was and everything, he starts, asking some questions to his parents, and Katie Holmes plays the mother, of course. But he asks, like, do you guys love me? And she's like, precision of language. That's, like, one of her big line, because that's, like, a big thing in this culture, to make sure your words are exactly what they are supposed to mean. And so she says all the time, precision of language. And I'm just like, just shut up, okay? Just shut up. Meryl Streep, here is the thing. Meryl Streep, as a character, as an actress, she's an amazing actress. Anyone who says otherwise is an idiot. But as a character, she falls into the rut of super powerful lady in control of this empire that wants to keep everything in an established order. I'm actually getting really sick of that. I mean, I've seen it like now 3 times recently. We got Elysium, we got Divergent, and now we got The Giver. Now, once again, correct me if I'm wrong for anyone who's read the book more recently than I have. I remember the elders being in the book, like, very vague. You never actually saw them. You always heard about them, and they always heard about how they were controlling the world, but you never actually saw them. I think that might have helped this movie a little bit more if it was more like that, because then you could have had them feeling like they were this unseen force that was working against them. I don't know. That's just me personally. I think this movie does hold back a little bit, because one of my favorite... this is like one of my most favorite moments that I can remember from the book. Like, some stuff I remember because I'm reading information on it, but this one scene I always remember from the book. There's a part in the book, the first time he absorbs memories from the giver, is when he does it, it's about... he absorbs the memories of a boy going down the hill on a sled. And he's having fun and everything, and it's great. And he enjoys that. And then, through the days go on, he gets more and more fun memories. And he's like, why is everyone so down on me for, like, pitying me for having this job? And something along those lines. And the giver has to show him. And so he grabs him again, and the kid sees a sled. So he goes on the sled again because he's experienced a memory. And it's all fun and everything's fine. Then the sled crashes, and you read how his leg breaks. That's not in the movie. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple of really intense scenes in the movie. I won't give them away because they were actually really, really good. But I wish that there was more scenes like those. Scenes where you got this kid, in this case, this guy, experiencing the greatness of the way the world was and the bad things of it, the risk and the joy. That's what I wanted more of, because we only get to see 2 scenes that really show the evil of humanity in this way where we have all of our emotions. There could have been a few more, there could have been, I really was waiting to see the scene where he breaks his leg in the memory, but that never happened, and I guess I just wanted some more depth into what he was experiencing. I mean, there's a scene where he hears music for the first time and understands what it is, that it's not just noise. And I wish we could have gotten, we get a tear coming down from his eye, and that was good, don't get me wrong, that was good. But I wish we could have gotten more, a description of what it's like for someone to hear music for the first time, for example, let's say you could get that description from a deaf person who's just been able to hear it for the first time. You tell that person what it's like, and they will go on for probably hours what it's like to hear. I think that you could have gone more with this, where a guy who hears music for the first time is able to hear the melody and hear what's great about it. I think that you could have gone into that more, and the book does, from what I recall. As I say, you know what? I've always been the person that says, it doesn't matter what's in the book, just as long as it's a good movie. And don't get me wrong, I'm judging the movie based on the movie, not because of what it does in the books and what it changes. I'm just saying, I remember the book being able to go into more detail of how this experience felt. And it kind of was almost more potent coming from a child. A child who is experiencing pain, or a child who is experiencing war and death. Something like that, that's more potent and more, gut-wrenching. And that, I think, would have been able to, tug the audience along more. Speaking of gut-wrenching, there's one scene that I was so shocked that they did it, and that they was so easily able to do it that they didn't even flinch. They didn't cheap out and pan away and just show the reaction of the people watching. They showed it for what it was, and I was kind of shocked when they did that. If you see the movie, I want you to see that scene, and you'll know what scene I'm talking about. When it happens, you'll be like, oh my gosh, they just showed that. They didn't even blink. They didn't even hesitate. Just boom. Yikes. Taylor Swift is in this film. She plays a bit part for a few seconds. I didn't even know until I looked up the cast profile on IDM. Taylor Swift is in this movie. I didn't even notice when I saw it. I only noticed because I looked up the profile on who acted in the movie. She plays a bit part for a little while. Okay, there could have been a lot more build-up into this film, a little bit more setup, a little bit more of showing how the world works. This is one of these dystopian futures where you don't know how it got there, It's like, in Hunger Games, you don't know how it got to this bad in the future. Same with Divergent, and same with The Giver. You don't know how it got to this point, but this is the point that it's at. Now, The Giver, it does have a kind of interesting ending, but I won't get into it. I will do a little bit of a spoiler part for the video, but I will say this, though. It's an okay movie. The acting part, some of them are not great. Some of them are just good. But it's an okay movie. It's nothing that's really to write home about or you must see. I only really saw this movie because I don't read that many books. Seriously, I don't, and unless you count comic books, but I know a lot of people wouldn't. I mean, when you look at books that I've read that have been made into a movie, you got the Narnia movies, and that's it. Really, that's it. So I wanted to see a movie that was based on something that I read as a kid, and while I won't say it's better than the book because, I'm one of the people that say a movie can be better than the book, not that it always is, but that it can be. I will say that it's an okay watch, this movie, because I think if you're, in the demographic it's trying to show itself to, a young teenage girl or young woman, I think that you might enjoy this fine. As a movie, just on its own, I wanted more from it. I wanted to see more depth, more into the symbolism, maybe some more, dynamic shots of the way this world works and why it is this way, some more symbolism. But that's just me. As it is, it's not horrible, and it actually has some pretty good, intense scenes in it, and can actually hold your attention and won't bore you to death. So I will say that I will give The Giver a 5.5 out of 10. Just above average movie. It's nothing really to write home about. If you have a different movie that you have in mind and seen this week, unless it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you don't need to see this movie. Because I'd see this movie, again, more than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But if you were going to say, well, it's either The Giver or Guardians of the Galaxy, go see Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, that's my take on it. The Giver, it's an okay movie. Now I just want to talk about a few spoilers thing. No, I don't want to talk about spoilers. Let's just cut that out. I'm done. So, Giver, okay movie, nothing great. Oh well. See you around, everyone.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.